Hello and welcome to the SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So in this episode I'm discussing the 2018 World War II action horror movie Overlord, as directed by Julius Avery. Now, when this film was first announced, being produced by J.J. Abrams, the rumour mill was rife that this was going to be the next in the Cloverfield franchise. That certainly piqued my interest. However, this was kind of denied by those involved, and indeed I can confirm that it isn't. Sadly, it isn't part of that franchise, but that didn't stop me from looking forward to checking it out, given that everything I'd heard, and indeed that I had been looking forward to some time to kind of sit down and give this a whirl. So I am glad that I did in the end. It's nothing too special. It does copy quite a lot from other movies in the genre. But it's been well presented and has kind of a few quirks which give it a little bit of an edge that help keep the suspense building from the start. It isn't just another zombie rehash or mindless super soldier romp, although granted it is a little bit of both. So, it's set during World War II on the eve of D-Day, and we join an American paratrooper squad making their way into the heart of France to destroy a radio tower built into the side of an old church in order to, it's a bit of a mouthful, but in order to destroy the Nazis' channels of communication and thus allow the Allied troops to safely counter-attack. Our troop is struck before they even have a chance to safely drop out the plane, which sees only a handful kind of survive the ordeal. Little do they know, worse is yet to come. However, undeterred from the importance of their mission, they push on, meeting a local named Chloe Laurent, as played by Mathilde Ollivier, in the process, who does offer them shelter whilst they kind of concoct their strategy, if you like, for infiltrating the Nazi compound and taking down the tower. What starts to transpire, however, is anything but routine, and soon they learn that the Nazi base houses more than just the communications. So, I think if you get the premise of the film, then there aren't going to be too many surprises in this one, you know. I don't think it is a film that was kind of really designed to be, if you like. But the film does kind of counter this by making it more about the journey, if you like, to get there, rather than kind of offering us a simple shock value for horror's sake. It is gory, absolutely, but riveting at the same time. Telling a story first and foremost, and then introducing the horror elements slowly as part of the overall war effort, which was, for the most part, at least a unique perspective for me. I did set myself up to kind of watch something that was perhaps a bit more science fiction orientated, but in the end, I really must say that I really did enjoy what I got. You know, sometimes even if you're not expecting a film to be like what it actually ends up being like, they can still surprise you in different ways, and this one certainly did. It was one of those films that kind of starts out with one main premise, one main story, and then kind of twists and it turns so much that it ends up being something else by the end. No, I'm not saying that there was actually tons of twists in the plot itself. For the most part, it is pretty much played straight down the middle, but what kind of starts out squarely as a war epic then kind of turns slowly into something with more of a horror vibe. The movie does include some fantastic wartime effects, especially at the beginning. It is quite brutal in that respect, sort of Saving Private Ryan with super soldier zombies. And for the most part, it really does concentrate on the ravages and the harsh reality of war. The mission remained the priority and their total objective, whatever the cost. That in itself was kind of riveting enough, without any further subplot down the line. These men had already been through hell before they even stepped foot in France, never mind coming face to face with the Nazis' secret experiments. Personally, in the end, I would actually say that I enjoyed the war story more. It did actually seem more involved and more in-depth, more considered. The introduction of the experiments was good, but ultimately the end fight sequences just seemed average. You know, the build-up was much, much better than the final execution, if you know what I mean. Which is a shame. The ending kind of did seem a bit rushed, a bit lacklustre, but given the way that the kind of film sets everything up and the story that's been told throughout, it really didn't seem like that much of a disappointment. As the main story thread, that is the destruction of the communication tower, still continued throughout. As a horror, it's nothing special. It's the way that it kind of tells its story and keeps you hooked in that respect, which makes it worth a watch. It still carries through its war theme, and then the eventuality that follows isn't too far removed from reality, you know, given the strive for such super soldiers and supremacy. It was more action and blood and guts than out-and-out horror, I would say. You know, I would say that there were very few true scares. Furthermore, gut-wrenching moments. We do actually see most of the story told as we follow only one of the troop, Private First Class Edward Boyce, as played by Jovan Adepo. As we see things from their perspective, so to speak, not through their eyes, but through, as though we're kind of side by side, witnessing the horrors that unfold, in whatever guise that they actually take. The panic that kind of sets in that we feel alongside, and witnessing their transformation from a reluctant participant called up to war, into a well-oiled soldier with the weight of the mission on their backs. And I can't say that I wasn't riveted, as I was. You know, I knew something was coming, but the story elements were riveting in themselves, and the way that the film was presented from Boyce's point of view added a real kind of personal touch, adding more depth and a real connection to Adepo. And, well, sorry, not to Adepo, but a real connection. Adepo, however, does capture the look of sheer terror tremendously well. You are on the edge of your seat before you're on the edge of your seat, if you know what I mean. Yeah, but overall, there are some very intense moments for sure, you know. They just don't really come from the expected horror elements themselves. Instead, the movie opts to make it about one character's journey in particular, which I thought was a really interesting and invoking slant to come from. We follow his journey, his state of mind, and the sheer horror that exudes as we follow him through a real chamber of horrors. It has a fairly macabre and twisted edge, with some distinctly gory and gut-wrenching moments. It is definitely a slow burn to its end target, but there is plenty going on before then, you know. In fact, I preferred this part of the story to its actual endgame, which I thought was fairly rushed and ultimately generic, clearly recycling from a number of other movies. War does remain the movie's central theme, and our troops' overall mission to disable the communication tower never wavers. Even when things do get, well, quite weird, to say the least, which does kind of give it that distinct edge. It is quite an intense experience, I must say, but a fun one at that for any kind of horror come action fans. It's kind of that kind of mix. All packaged in a fairly neat and satisfying self-contained story with enough going on that you may just forget that there's actually supposed to be more at play. So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed. If you have, please leave a like. Please do hit that subscribe button for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and other movie-related content. Absolutely loved having you here at SciFirst MovieTalk, and definitely would love to have you back. But most of all, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.